So now we're starting Luke. So if this is new to you, sort of the Bible reading of going through them over and over, obviously you've got the four Gospels. They overlap a lot, but there's some differences. So Luke is kind of unique. It's the most sort of detailed. It's got some. It's good. 60% of it is new to the Gospels, which, like Mark, if you noticed, was fairly repetitive to Matthew as we were going through. And Luke does repeat some of the same stories. Obviously, it's still the gospel, and it's the story of Jesus, and they all sort of reflect each other and have a lot of similar stories. But Luke basically says right here at the beginning that lots of people have made these gospels, and I'm not he doesn't say they're wrong, right? He just sort of says many people put them, but it seemed to me a good idea to try to get as detailed and as organized as I can. And you can tell by his writing that's Luke, right? It also seems that he probably. This is complete conjecture, doesn't say, but perhaps Mary, Jesus' mother, was one of the people that he talked to and used as a witness, because it adds a very Mary viewpoint in a couple of places. So he seems to have a lot of that story and like the story of Jesus' birth and stuff, which wasn't included as much. There is some in Matthew, obviously, but he spends a bit more time on that and has a couple of sort of growing Jesus vignettes and other things of Mary. So you sort of say, hey, that's possible that she was one of the witnesses that he relies upon, that he talks about, and or potentially Jesus' brothers. And also he spends a lot more time on the journey to Jerusalem. So when Jesus sort of turns his face to Jerusalem, there's a lot more detail in Luke in this gospel. This is also Luke and Acts were written as basically one piece. So they're split into two books in the Bible, and they're actually separated by John in the order, but they were written as one big long train. So that was also written by Luke in sort of the same mode, presumably at the same time, or at least reasonably close after each other. So that's Luke and sort of the story that's going on here. You've got a bit of it starts with the story of John the Baptist's birth, and parallels a little bit Zechariah and his wife, parallel sort of Abraham and his wife, that they were both righteous in God's sight but unable to have children, and Jesus gives them a miracle, and they have an angel of the Lord appears, one of the two named angels in the Bible. This is Gabriel. Appears and gives them a prophecy and says that he will be great in sight of the Lord and never drink wine or beer, which is an interesting statement. That means he's a Nazarite, if you don't know that. So that he will be a Nazarite, and he will go before with the spirit and power of Elijah, which is what Jesus talks about a lot. That John the Baptist was the one preaching in the wilderness of Jesus' return. So anything else that's exciting? That you were going to name him Jesus. That's verse 32. So that would be actually on the next page. So verse 32 comes up and he says, he will be great and he will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom will have no end. Did I say? Oh, it's the end of 31, sorry. Give birth to a son and you will name him Jesus. So Jesus means basically God saves. So it's a combination of Jehovah and Yasha, which is rescue. So Yasha is basically changed to Yeshua, which is the sort of original translation that we moved to in English, I guess, to Jesus, if you want to say it that way. So that is amazing. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you, and therefore you know that this is of God and not of man. So the Son of God, he will be born and he will be called the Son of God. That's not just the fact, like we automatically associate it, Son of God, Jesus is the Son of God, and sort of lose that, jump straight to that. The Old Testament also uses that Son of God as a sort of a representative of a human that's raised to rule. It's at times used for Israel altogether, as sort of the kingdom. So Jesus is the fulfillment of God's promises to Abraham, and that's explicit in Paul's writings. That the seed that has been going along from Abraham all the way through David's line till now was a singular seed, meaning it ends in Jesus. Not ends because it comes through us, but it reaches its climax in Jesus as the final king that is going to fulfill that covenant promise that God puts all that time ago. So that is pretty awesome. And then Mary goes to visit Elizabeth, John the Baptist. They were cousin. And Mary is amazed. And you get, if you have never heard it before, the Magnificat, which is a pretty cool piece of poetry song that is put in the middle of Luke. If you read through it, it's sort of laid out in steps. So she starts out with, verse 49, the Mighty One has done great things for me. His name is holy. His mercy is from generation to generation. So you have mercy here for those that are lowly and who fear, and then exaltation for the lowly, and then satisfaction for the hungry. And then at the end, it goes sort of the other way, and it says, the proud is scattered, the mighty are toppled, the rich are sent away empty. So it sort of builds up and then goes in and sort of repeats in the inverse. I guess that's a fairly common Hebrew biblical sort of pattern. So, and then it finishes right here with his covenant promises, remembering his mercy to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he spoke to our ancestors. So that Jesus is the fulfillment of this Abrahamic promise starts, before he's even born. They are talking about that and understanding the situation. So pretty awesome. The from there, this is a pretty long chapter, so I'm not going to go over all of it. You can read it, and it's pretty awesome. And it talks about Jesus' birth and goes through these things, right? And there is a prophecy from Zechariah, so that the horn of salvation has been raised for us. He's raised a horn of salvation in the house of his servant David. He's given us the privilege to serve without fear in his presence for all our days. And then John ends up in the wilderness until his day of a public appearance in Israel. And that public appearance happens in 3:1. So it sort of says, hey, by the way, this is all prepped until such time. 3:1 is the appearance of John the Baptist, if you're wondering. So we won't get to that today, but we will next week, where John the Baptist appears on the scene, presumably at the age 30. That is when the Nazarite is considered to start his mission, start his work as he studies and prepares until he's 30 and does that. So you probably know the Christmas story, so I won't go through all the detail. We get a lot of messages on Christmas, obviously. We just did one on Passover as well, the sacrificial lambs being raised in and around Bethlehem. And it's a pretty awesome story, but we won't go through all the details just because we see that a lot, and that we get lots of messages on that, and you can read it. It's pretty straightforward. So you get to Simeon, who also has a pretty awesome, basically, he wants God to allow him not to see death until he sees the Messiah, and when he sees Jesus as a baby, he's like, fair enough, you can take me now, God, I'm good. I have seen this. My eyes have seen your salvation. It's pretty intense. And then 33, Simeon blessed them and told his mother Mary, indeed, this child is destined to cause the fall and rise of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be opposed. And a sword will pierce your own soul, that the thoughts of many hearts will be revealed. So it's sort of a bittersweet promise to Mary, that Jesus is going to cause, a lot of division. True statement. Amazing salvation comes on the day that he dies on that cross, but it's also a very clear separation of the wheat and the tares going on right there. So, and that's going to obviously pierce Mary's soul as this story happens. So it finishes with a bit of a story of, as I mentioned, this one has a little bit more in his childhood. So a story where they go to Passover. It's a pilgrimage holiday, so they all travel to Jerusalem for this holiday. They're traveling back. They do this as a group, right? It's not just, hey, I'm going to always travel on my own. Everybody's got to travel there, so you go as a group. She's assuming that he's running off with whatever, cousins, friends, somebody, and the rest of the party, and then they only realize at the end of the day, hey, wait a second, we've traveled the whole day and don't see him. So they go back, and he says, yeah, didn't you know it was necessary for me to be in my Father's house? But they didn't fully understand that, right? Because despite having heard these things, like, how does that sink into your brain? Like, yes, I'm carrying the Son of God and I'm raising this kid, and you change diapers and you do whatever. It's got to be a challenging mental process, one would presume, to be them and sort of go through this. So it says that they did not understand fully what was going on, as they probably wouldn't in that situation. So that is Luke 1 and 2. It sort of gives you the idea already of his level of detail and some of the things that are going to be included that are a bit unique from the last ones. So that's pretty cool. All right, that's it. Hope you're blessed.